Ever wonder what happens when you push a man who's spent 20 years hauling freight through hell too far? Picture this: my semi-truck, all 30,000 pounds of it, smashing through Laura's pristinely VYing room, glass exploding, her fancy French doors folding like wet cardboard. The horns screaming, I'm stumbling out of the cab with blood trickling down my forehead, laughing like I've lost it. My rig's front end is buried in her sunken den, and Laura's standing there, drenched in her pink robe from a busted pipe, screaming about property values. Yeah, that's me, and you're probably wondering how I went from parking my truck in my own driveway to turning it into a battering ram against the HOA Queen's McMansion. Buckle up, because this is a wild ride. Home for me was where I parked my rig, a beat-up but reliable Mack I'd driven for 2 decades across highways, storms, and sketchy rest stops. After years of SAVYing, I bought a slice of Quieta modest brick house with a wraparound porch, a double-wide driveway, and a backyard just big enough for a grill. The neighborhood, Meadow VYEW Estates, sat just outside city limits, not too fancy, not too rough, just right. I moved in during spring, and for a few weeks, it felt like I'd cracked the code. I'd roll in every Thursday after a long haul, park my truck tight against my property line, crack a beer, and let the crickets sing while the diesel cooled. But peace attracts trouble like moths to a porch light. Trouble's name was Laura, the HOA president, who came marching up one Sunday like she owned the block. I was wiping bug guts off my windshield when she stopped, clipboard in hand, her yappy little terrier panting behind her. She gave my truck a look like it was a dumpster. "Excuse me," she said, voice sharp behind her designer sunglasses. "Is that vehicle staying here permanently?" I kept it polite. "Yup, ma'am. I own the place." Her lips pursed like I'd spat in her coffee. "This is a residential area. Commercial vehicles don't fit our aesthetic. We have standards." I could tell she was used to people CAVYing. I wasn't rude, but I didn't grovel either. "It's my home, my driveway, and my truck's street legal," I said. She scribbled on her clipboard and muttered, "We'll see." 3 days later, an orange violation notice was zip-tied to my porch. "Excessive vehicle presence, potential safety hazard." The fine was due law $150. I laughed at the wording. Sounded like they were bracing for a chemical spill, not a guy wanting to sleep in his own bed. I appealed to the HOA, got a form letter saying they'd re-VYEW it at their convenience. The fines kept coming: due law $50, due law $200, another due law $200. Laura got creative, throwing in terms like VY soil pollution and non-conforming footprint. I tried compromising, renting a lot 5 miles away to park my truck during the week, only bringing it home Thursdays through Sundays. That worked for a month until Laura showed up with a tape measure, pacing my driveway, snapping photos, her dog wheezing at her heels. Next day, another violation. Exceeding paved space usage. I nearly choked on my coffee. So, I got smarter. Built a truck port on my lot, $3,000 and a weekend of sweat, code compliant, matching my roof shingles. I sent the HOA permits and receipts, thinking it'd shut them up. Nope. A week later, a new complaint. Unauthorized structure adjacent to lot line. They claimed my port was 4 inches too tall. I checked the bylaws, no such rule. When I called them out, Laura held an emergency HOA meeting. I showed up, binder full of permits, pen tucked in my cap. The room hushed when I walked in. Laura didn't look at me, just clicked through a PowerPoint titled Community Harmony Standards, flashing blurry photos of my truck like it was a mugshot. "This isn't Meadow VYU's values," she said, voice sugary but cutting. "Mr. Carter's vehicle, while impressive, is incompatible." I raised my hand. "I pay dues, don't make noise, don't park on the street. What's incompatible?" She ignored me, pushed a vote for a new rule: no commercial vehicles over 20 feet parked for more than 8 hours. It passed 4-1. Only Mike, a guy with a chicken coop, voted no. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about rules, it was about control. Laura hated that I didn't fit her mold, that I hadn't begged for her blessing to exist. She went nuclear, calling the city zoning board, claiming my truck leaked oil. I used drip pans, saying it blocked emergency access on a dead-end street. One morning, I found chalk outlines around my tires and a note from code enforcement about an anonymous tip. The city guy took one look, said I was fine, but filed a report anyway. Laura canvassed the neighborhood, pushing a Clean Streets initiative, with flyers showing rusted trucks. She called me the diesel nuisance at meetings, half joking but dead serious. Neighbors started avoiding me, one lady clutching her purse like I'd rob her. I stayed calm, documented everything, photos, dates, receipts, but every man's got a breaking point, and Laura didn't just find mine. She floored it. The final straw was a registered letter at 6:17 a.m. on a Saturday. The HOA had banned all long-haul trucks from the sub-BVY Shown, effective immediately, with due law 500 daily fines and threats of lawsuits. They cited a municipal ordinance that didn't even apply. My lawyer friend confirmed it. Laura had no authority, but the rule was voted in, making me a target. I stood on my porch, watching her stroll by with her dog and a smug grin, and something snapped. The pressure wasn't just annoyance, Anna Marie, it was rage, hot and heavy, like an engine about to blow. I tried playing nice, but Laura wasn't messing with just a trucker. She was poking a guy who'd driven through blizzards, dodged bullets in Nevada, and kept a cool head when most would have cracked. She wanted a fight? I had 18 wheels and a long memory. Then came the moment I'll never forget, when my brakes gave out. I was on a routine Friday delivery, a straight road, light traffic, sun low. I tapped the brake for a turn. Nothing. Pumped it again, pedal hit the floor. My heart slammed into my ribs. I yanked the wheel, tires screaming, fishtailing onto a dirt shoulder, grinding to a stop inches from a fence. Hands shaking, I climbed out and saw brake fluid pooling like blood. The cut was clean, surgical, no accident. My mechanic, Joe, took one look and whistled. Somebody sliced this with a hacksaw. They knew what they were doing. I asked if it could have been a pothole, anything but the truth I already knew. He shook his head. This was sabotage. They wanted you to crash. I filed a police report, but the cop, a rookie smelling of cheap cologne, took photos, nodded, and gave me a card. No witnesses, no prints, no urgency. I wasn't done. I checked my security cams, nothing but mailmen and Laura pacing like a wannabe cop. Then I remembered my neighbor Sarah's new Ring camera. We scrubbed her footage and found it, 2:47 a.m., 3 nights back. A hooded figure stops at my driveway, glances at my truck, face shadowed but familiar. A patch on his jacket, Harrington Construction, owned by Tom Harrington, Laura's husband and HOA lackey. The guy who'd once tried to find me for a non-standard mailbox. Sarah printed the frame, police called it inconclusive, but I knew. I dug deeper, called in favors, ran records. Tom's side business Serviy said vehicles, and he'd lost $1 million city contract to my employer, the company whose logo was on my trailer. His bid was sloppy, disqualified for cutting corners. My company won, and he held a grudge. Laura's HOA crusade wasn't just petty, it was a front for Tom's vendetta. They weren't just pushing me out. They wanted me ruined, maybe dead. That flipped a switch. The patience I'd clung to for months unraveled. These people didn't care about laws or fairness. They tried to kill me and failed. The rules were off. I built a case, cross-referencing every fine with Laura's votes, every citation with Tom's contracts. Patterns emerged. Laura's allies never got fined, while others were hit for nonsense like Du La 604 grass discoloration, after a budget vote. I found a bylaw letting the board force maintenance duties on non-compliant owners, straight up HOA slavery. I wasn't the only VY Tim, but I was the only one fighting back. I upgraded my security night VY Shown, motion sensors, cloud backups. I traced Laura's house purchase, a 30-fan tram discount tied to a shell company linked to Tom's LLC. The deeper I dug, the dirtier it got. They thought I was just a dumb trucker, but I'd now VY gated worse than their suburban mafia. I made 3 calls. One to a DOT friend who owed me from a Nebraska snowstorm. One to a podcaster with 500,000 trucker fans. One to Big Al, a retired hauler turned PI who could dig up dirt on a saint. I said, "They cut my brakes." That was enough. By Wednesday, the HOA's rent-a-cops were pulled over by DOT officers, their patrol car busted for expired plates and an illegal siren. Laura's backyard deck, a gaudy overbuild, VYOLAT easements code enforcement slapped it with a stop work order after I sent photos from her own social media. Friday, I shared my story with the trucker network. By Saturday, 12 rigs rolled into Meadow VYEW, horns blaring, a banner reading, "Free the driveway, justice for truckers." Laura's tantrums played on loudspeakers, synced to rock music, narrated like a wildlife doc. Here's the suburban despot, asserting dominance over lawful commerce. It went VY Diesel Laura, trending. Viewers spotted unmarked fuel drums in Tom's yard, no permits. Big Al sent a bombshell, Laura's secret HOA books, skimmed fines funneled to her remodels and Tom's fake companies. One payment went to a zoning clerk's cousin. I printed it all, highlighted every dirty dollar. Then, Thursday night, my driveway alarm pinged. A hooded figure crouched by my wheel well. A dye bomb purple, sticky, 48-hour stain exploded, and my floodlights caught Laura, purple-soaked, holding a brake wrench. She ran, slipping in her own mess. The footage was gold. I sent it to neighbors, not cops. By morning, I had friend requests, anonymous tips, even a photo of Laura's illegal shed. The neighborhood turned. Laura's grip built on fines and fake smiles crumbled. I wasn't done. A surveyor friend, Ellie, found Laura's house at 6 feet into a city utility easement, built with stolen HOA funds. The city issued a condemnation notice. Laura screamed as they taped her lawn. She filed an injunction, claiming I'd menaced her with the convoy. The judge laughed it off. Then the cops called. They'd found Tom's fingerprints on the brake tool, definitive proof of tampering, conspiracy, and HOA fraud. Squad cars rolled up that evening. Tom, hosing his driveway in socks and sandals, went pale as they cuffed him. Laura shrieked about immunity. They shut the cruiser door in her face. That should have been the end, but fate's got a twisted sense of humor. I'd just gotten my truck back, new brakes, new tires. Took it for a test drive. Nobody saw the steering jam left. Nobody saw my face as the rig veered off the cul-de-sac, straight into Laura's new patio. At 15 miles an hour, 30,000 pounds doesn't need speed. Glass shattered, concrete cracked. Her kitchen island met my grill. I stepped out, dazed, and locked eyes with Laura clutching a spatula in her doorway. I tipped my hat. Insurance called it mechanical failure, no fault. Joe swore he'd checked every bolt. Sometimes things just happen. The HOA collapsed. Laura and Tom faced lawsuits. She sold her house at a due law $200,000 loss, rumored to be hiding in Nevada. The new board, young and fair, repealed her rules. My truck's got a brick-lined spot now, and I helped draft a vehicle policy. Fake fines mean washing every rig in the neighborhood. I sit on my porch, beer in hand, watching the sunset, smiling. Not because I won, but because some stories end right not in court, but with the slow, heavy roll of justice, 18 wheels humming, coming down the driveway.